Welcome to another episode of the Her Handmade Hustle podcast. Thank you to everyone who listened to last week's episode. It was the one where my sister came on and I interviewed her because she's also an entrepreneur with her own travel recruitment business. People said they really enjoyed it, so that was great. I know we sound so similar, but most people told me that it didn't confuse them too much. So that was good to know. We didn't want to confuse you. But you also said that you thought her business advice was spot on. And it was fabulous. So I'm going to feed that back to her. Honestly, she's just the best at giving me advice in all aspects of my life. And I always feel so much clearer about whatever it is that I called her about in the first place when I've spoken to her. So hopefully you felt the same too. You enjoyed listening to her valuable insights into the world of being self-employed, and it gave you some fire and some motivation to get out there and start up on your own. So this week I'm back flying solo again today, and what we're talking about? Well, it's that time of year now. The sun's starting to make an appearance, although looking out the window now, it's disappeared again. As quickly as it came out, it's gone back. But regardless, people are starting to look forward to having longer days, days out again, generally in a better, brighter mood. The fairs and markets are popping up everywhere. And I know that a lot of the ladies that I'm working with are booked onto quite a few craft fairs and local markets already. And some of you have already done some too, which is fabulous. You're already out there this year, getting your work out there to be seen. And with fairs and markets, they're fabulous. It's a great chance to make some decent money, to sell your work or your service and just get your name out there. So to do some promotion, some networking. They really are a good way to do this. It's a crucial way to get seen and to get known. And I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of actually having a physical presence when you've got a business of your own. Obviously, social media and having an online presence is the utmost importance. Of course it is. That's where the world is at the moment. But I think we sometimes forget about the importance of getting out there and physically being seen and speaking face to face to people who are interested in your service, and for letting to see your goods, letting to see what you do, what you make. There's nothing like it, is there? I love going into shops, holding things, touching things, rather than buying online. And I think a lot of people of the same mindset. It's what we missed, wasn't it, when COVID happened? We missed going out there, browsing. I missed going into TK Maxx. I always remember saying, I can't wait to get into TK Maxx and have a good browse. So I think it's really important that we make a good impression when we do craft fairs and markets, which can be quite daunting. If you're not 100% comfortable with dealing with customers face to face. So I thought it might be a good idea today to talk about the art of selling and to give you some tips. If you're not a natural salesperson, or if you struggle with the thought of standing behind a stall, while your work gets judged right in front of your eyes, because that's what it feels like. And if you've ever done a craft fair or a market stall, you'll know that feeling, that awkwardness that comes along, when people are passing by and they're looking at your stuff. Now, I am talking mainly about fairs and markets today, but a lot of this advice will also apply to businesses that have services, like service-based businesses as well. So if you're out at events or you're meeting clients, and you actually got this personal face-to-face interaction, I think you'll find that a lot of the advice that is in this episode today can be applied to that as well. So back to, okay, you've booked a craft fair, you've booked your market, whatever, you're ready to get your stuff out there, whether it's your first one, whether it's your 100th fair, whatever. It's always going to be nervous. You never know how it's going to go. They're very unpredictable. And if you've ever done one, you'll know that some can be absolutely amazing and some can be a total disaster. As I mentioned, you can feel awkward. When people are passing by, do they stop? Don't they stop? What are they muttering to their husbands or their friends when they walk past and point at your stuff? You really feel like you're being judged. Do you speak to them when they approach, or do you just leave them to browse? What if they laugh or faint at the price? What if they are shopping for their own business? What if they're snooping around and they're trying to steal your ideas? Oh, I know all the questions that come into your head when you're just stood behind that table, people watching, and you're just thinking, you're praying that anyone's going to come over, buy your work and validate you being there and giving up your weekend or whenever, plus all the prep time it's taken to get it all ready. Because my God, fairs are hard work. And like I say, if you've ever done one, you will know that they are difficult. So I thought I could use today's episode to share with you my experience of selling at craft fairs, because I am not a natural salesperson and I never have been. Now, if you're listening to this and you think, oh yeah, well, you've had your own business for 14 years, you're doing something right, obviously you are good at selling. Well, yeah, maybe I am, but I'm not aware of it. I'm not one of these people where I'm not a salesy person. It gives me shivers, the thought of being like that. I actually ducked out of quite a few jobs back in my early 20s that were sales based because I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the backbone for it. And I wanted to use this episode today to let you know that even if you aren't a natural salesperson, it is possible still to run your own business, because there are other ways that you can actually sell your stuff without being that sort of ballsy salesperson that everybody has in mind that you have to be when you run a business. Because when I did craft and wedding fairs, I always did relatively well. Sometimes I did fantastically well. Sometimes it was a complete, utter sham, but that's going to happen. But I always found that I didn't need to chase people around the room to buy my stuff. I didn't need to give them the hard sell when they came over to my stall, because I don't think I could honestly ever do that. It's not me. It's not in my genetic makeup. I'm much more of a softer approach. If people like my stuff, they're going to buy it, full stop. Perhaps I should be a little bit more forthcoming. I don't know, but that's just not who I am. But I still made decent sales, and I still got many new customers each time I exhibited at these fairs. So I'm going to tell you what worked for me and what didn't. So maybe you can go into your next fair or market, or your first one, say whether it's your first or 100th. I want you to go in confident that you can make some sales, even if you're totally shit scared about doing it. Trust me, I've done it. And I think one of the reasons why I don't do them anymore, but when I enjoyed doing craft fairs so much and wedding fairs, was because when I was little, we did a lot of car boot sales. It's like an 80s child, and car boot sales were just like the thing to do. I think they still are. There's a lot of them around now, isn't there? But in the 80s, it was always like, right, let's get all that stuff together. Let's have a car boot sale. And honestly, I'm just forever grateful for those experiences, because I loved doing them. I absolutely loved them. I look forward to it every sort of school holidays or whenever we'd managed to get enough stuff together to try and sell. Usually it was around Easter time. And I just love being behind. We used my dad's decorating paste table. I had wonky legs, I'll always remember. And we always thought that one year it was just going to give up and collapse and everything would end up on the floor. But it never did, amazingly. It survived. But I just love standing behind it, and getting excited every time people came over to our stall. And if you've ever done a car boot sale, you'll know that they are brutal, right? If you have done a car boot sale, you can do a craft fair, you can do a craft market, whatever. Because people are of a different breed at car boots, right? If you've not done one, like I say, you'll have a shock. You should do one. It's a great experience. But they attack your car. And you park up at like 6:30 a.m. in the morning. And before you've even got your stuff out, you've got people like sifting through your boxes, chucking change at you just before you've even got your money box out and you're set up, because they want stuff. Have you got this? Have you got that? They're asking you all these questions, My mum used to laugh because my sister, she'd always be the one that would hide in the car at the beginning until we were all set up. She just hated getting pounced on. So she'd lock herself in the car. But I was right out there with my mum. I was unloading all that stuff. I was ready to sell my toys and make some pocket money. I loved it. And I think the chaos and the process of selling and making money was really exciting for me. And I think that's a lot of where my sort of entrepreneurship came from. And I'm talking about it now, I'm smiling because they were such happy times. They were just so simple. Those days, absolutely loved them. That was a full day out for us, really, because we'd been up since 5, probably, packing the car up. By the time we got home, maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon, we'd count our money out. I'd be exhausted. I'd sleep well that night. But I just loved it. And I was only about 7 or 8 when I did my first car boot. But I looked forward to them every single Easter, which was, say, the main holiday that we used to do them. And I was pretty confident when I was a kid. And I often dealt with the tricky customers, no problem. The ones that used to come over, they're umming and ahhing over something that you've got priced at 50p, offering you 20p. And, at one point, all you feel like doing is just giving it them. I think actually at one point my mum did that. She just gave this lady this thing she was looking at and she was umming and ahhing over it. Honestly, it was probably not even 20p. And she said, oh, just take it. And I think a lot of the skills that I learned from our family car boot sales helped me out a lot. And I think they resurfaced in my 20s when I started doing these craft and wedding fairs. I'm promoting my handmade stationery business, Vintage Twee. I couldn't be quite as harsh as I was with the bargain hunters at the car boot sales. I had a business reputation to uphold at the end of the day. But believe me, there were times I felt like it. You get a lot of different types of people at these events, which we'll go into shortly, and that will make you laugh. But, so obviously car boot sales, they're very different to craft fairs where you are showcasing your work. It's your babies you've got out there, set out on the table, all beautifully presented, in the hope that somebody will part with their hard-earned cash just to own a piece of your talent. And the truth is, there's lots of things that you can actually do to help your success on the day. And we're going to look at each of these things now. But you just need to remember that you don't actually need to be the best salesperson in the world to make some sales or to get yourself a following and to grow your business and meet new people and potentially customers. You don't need Salesperson of the Year award, trust me. So I think the main thing to remember to start off, let's kick it off with the fact that there is an element of active selling. I'm calling it active because, it's something that you do have to do. It's ultimately required when you stand behind that table and you're wanting people to buy your stuff. So by active selling, I don't mean the hard selling, bartering, shouting things out, getting people to come over, pressurising them. I don't mean that. It's totally different. And I think that is probably the main thing that puts people off doing fairs, as well as puts people off coming over to your stall. Nobody wants to feel pressured, do they? They just want to browse. And there are lots of ways that you can be active to make a sale without actually doing anything that's outside of your comfort zone. And we're going to look at these now. So I think the first one, the main one when you do a craft fair or a fair of any kind, is your body language. And your body language is huge. It can be the difference between having a crowd of people at your table and nobody. And I think it's about striking a balance between looking interested in your potential customer, but not too interested that you scare them off. You don't want to be weird, obviously, but you don't want to look bored either. Like you'd rather be somewhere else or on your phone texting or doing numerous selfies, for social media, regularly posting updates. Honestly, no one cares. Let's be honest. You're at the fair. Yes, take a picture before you start. Show people where you are in case they want to come down and see you. But no one actually is that bothered about how many things you've sold as you're going along, like an hourly update. Save that time, save that energy until you finish, and then you can tell people how it went. Okay, because you have got a focus, and that focus is to be around those people in that room and be there for them if they want to come over and if they need you. So you do want to look like that you actually want to be there. I used to stand up actually for the majority of the craft and wedding fairs that I did. Usually because I always had this fabulous dress on that I just wanted to show off because I would always dress the part. I did a lot of vintage fairs, so I'd wear 1940s style outfits or 50s dresses. And I used to dress to the theme of the actual fair. So I'd only sit down when my feet were really tired or it was quiet and no one was around. So when you're sat down, so you're going to need a rest, okay? You're human, you're going to need to sit down, your feet will be hurting. But when you are, just make sure people can see you as well. So don't hide behind your displays. Put your phone away. Of course, you might need to check for certain things, childcare, husband's mothering, whatever. Have a quick check, but put it away or hide it. Limit your selfies to one, like I say, at the beginning or at the end. See if you can take all of your promotional pictures before your fair is open to the public, so that you have got your phone away again, you've done all your pictures, that's done. Save your status updates, like I said, until you are home. Just focus on the job at hand, which is representing your business and your brand. That's what you're there to do. You want to make the most of the time that you're there. Because, people will notice these small details. You'd be really surprised. So whether you're stood up straight or you're slouched, whether you're sat down with your head buried in your phone, or you're stood up and you're proud to show off your work and welcome people over. And people will decide to stop by your stall before they can even see what you do, just by looking at the person behind the table. Also, leading on from there, you never want to underestimate the power of a smile. And like I say, you don't want to be weird. You don't want to be grinning at them strangely, or everybody that walks past, trying to entice them over. But a friendly smile goes a long way at these places and can create a really positive first impression, because these people don't know you from Adam. They have no idea who you are. They might be afraid to come over. They don't know what to expect. Are you going to talk to them or you're not? So give them a smile. Give them a friendly, fleeting smile. And it might just invite them over. Most of the time it does. I found that most people were more likely to come over and see my stall when I was smiling. Just smiling at the room, looking around, thinking I'm happy to be here. Having a little giggle, like with the person on the stall next to me. Strike up a conversation. This is a really good technique that always seemed to work for me. And I didn't really mean it for it to be a technique. I just found it came natural to me, but it worked. And I literally would just strike up a conversation, a friendly one with a passerby or someone who's stopped at my stall and taken the time to look at my things. And it could be anything, like it would be general conversation. Like I might say, gosh, it's busy in here today, isn't it? Or I might say, give them a compliment because I meant it, not because I was being fake. But if I liked something they were wearing, I would say, oh, that's a lovely scarf. Where did you get that from? That's really nice. And I often found that just being like that and speaking to people as a normal human being, not as a business owner or someone that was trying to get their money, I found that it made people warm to me. And it took the pressure off both sides, really. It took the pressure off me because I didn't then have to think about what the first thing was that I was going to say to them. And also them as well, because they were scared of what I may speak to them about and, ask for their money there and then on the spot and make them buy something. So it broke that awkward silence that you get when people are just browsing your stuff, because they can feel quite uncomfortable. They might be desperately wanting to touch something that you've made. But if they do, they're thinking, oh, God, does that mean I'm committed to buying it? You know what I mean? I've done it before. I've gone into like these little small independent shops where there's nobody in. And the lady behind the till is so desperate for me to buy something. And as I go over and I'd start looking at like, say, bath bombs or whatever, and I'd start touching them, I think, oh God, no, I better buy that now because I've got our hopes up. And I think that they will appreciate it, to have this friendly conversation, open up to them, make them feel comfortable. And you'll probably find, which I did, that it's going to invite them to ask you questions too about your work, which in turn will most likely lead to a sale. You want to be open with them, like actually let them find out about you and what you do. Because don't forget, the types of people who are choosing to come to these events are people who usually appreciate things like handmade items. They enjoy a browse. You don't wake up on a Sunday morning and go, oh, I really want to go to this craft fair today because, I just want to have a wander around and you just don't. You just say, I want to go there because I absolutely love the fact that people have made these things. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's different. Otherwise, I'd just go to Tesco and have a browse around there. So the people that are coming, they want to be there. While we're on the subject of people that attend these kind of events, I just want to touch on this because if you've ever done a craft fair or a market, you're going to totally relate to this because you notice a lot when you're sat there for the best part, like 6 or 7 hours. And there are certain types of people that you're going to come across and notice from the other side of the table. And this will make you laugh because you may be able to relate about the sorts of people that you get and you're going to want to talk to and the sorts of people that you're going to want to avoid. So these are sort of the different types of people that you're going to come across when you have a stall and you're meeting the general public. So first of all, you've got the one who's scared, too scared to come close to your stall in case you talk to them. You know, they're looking at your stuff from a distance because they're interested. They like the look of it, but they don't want to make that commitment to come over for fear that they'll get like entrapped and forced to buy something. So maybe they just stand there and they peer from afar. Or, you know, you see them doing a couple of laps around the venue just to get another look at your stuff. But again, they still don't come close enough that you can say hello or would you like to have a look? So you'll get plenty of them ones. The second sorts of people that come to these things are those that come along and they just like gush over your products, but they never actually buy anything. And they're constantly just going, oh my God, that is so cute. I love this. It's flattering, obviously. Nice to know that your stuff is getting good feedback, but not ideal at the end of the day. You want a sale. Then you've got the third sort of person that comes are the people that pick up everything on your stall. I like to call these the feelers. And they examine it. They stroke it. They smell it, depending on whatever it is that you do. And they're convincing you, they're teasing you that they're actually going to buy it. But then they put it down and walk away. They just bugger off. And you're left with your display. It's all messed up. You've got to go around to the front, titivating it all, getting it all back to how you had it in the first place. You know, these people in particular are really annoying. Like, so annoying. But they're all part and parcel of the types of people that you're going to get at these places, okay? The feelers. The fourth sort of person, they're ones that, these are annoying too. They are the ones that think they can do better themselves. You know, you see them muttering to their husbands and their friends. They're saying things like under their breath, how much? God, I could do better than that myself. And I think you have to realise that these people are not your customers. They need to jog on, seriously. Don't get offended if you hear anyone saying this. You're going to get it. I used to say to myself, oh, good luck trying, under my breath, you know, yeah, go for it. Have a go yourself, good luck. I just let them walk away and make room around the table for the people who really appreciate the work that has gone into my items. And then you've got the ones who come to these fairs to steal ideas. Now, these are the ones, these like serial offenders. They can go around to all different craft fairs because they've got no inspiration of their own. So they're trying to look to see what other people are doing, what's popular, how have they done it, how have they made it. Again, they might be picking it up, looking at it, taking photos. And these are the people, the cheats, you know, that we're all watching out for. And when they do get their phones out and they're taking photos so they can go home and try and do it themselves. And I like to call these the backstabbers of the craft world, you know, the ones that they break this unwritten rule of never disrespecting a fellow artist, copying her work. You just don't do it. But unfortunately, you do get them. And there's not that much you can do about it apart from being vigilant. If you suspect that that's what they're doing. In fact, I went to a fair once. I don't think I even had a business at this point, but I was genuinely just looking at somebody's stuff and she said to me, I took a picture of it because I was going to send it to somebody. And she said, what are you doing? And I just said, well, I'm just taking a picture of this to send to my friend because I think she'd really like it. And she just jumped on me. And she's like, oh, I just thought you were trying to copy my stuff. And I was like, no. And I got really offended by it because I genuinely wasn't. But obviously that was that. People do that, which is why I've mentioned it. But it wasn't me at that point. But she was quite rude about it. So I wouldn't quite go in like that. You don't want to accuse people of doing stuff. But if it was me and I was sort of suspect that that's what they were doing, I would try to sort of strike a conversation with them to scare them off a little bit. You know, I'd say, oh, what is it that you do? You know, just sort of like a bit of prying really in a friendly way. And they'll soon retreat if they think you're onto them, trust me. And you'll get to know the people that are out there looking for ideas and those that are genuine. And then lastly, you've got what I like to call the talkers. So the ones that literally, they just move from one stall to the next, chatting away to each stall holder about really irrelevant things. You know, they might be genuinely drawn over to your stall, say, oh, this is nice. And then they just start telling you about, you know, what they did at the weekend or the fact that they used to knit clothes for their grandchildren, whatever. And they linger for far too long. So they never buy anything. And sometimes, unfortunately, they can make you miss an all-important sale. You know, you can see a potential customer out the corner of your eye trying to get your attention. They've got their product your products are in their hand. They want to ask you a question about it. They want to pay you for it. And you just can't quite break away from the current conversation that you're stuck in, and you can't get to them. And sometimes you lose the sale. You're itching. You're itching to ditch Doris, aren't you? Who's telling you about what she knits for her grandson, and go and tend to the lady who's ready to pay. And my advice is, if you see this happening, there's absolutely nothing wrong with politely saying to Doris or whoever, "Oh, just excuse me 1 minute. I just need to speak to or serve this lady." And go and give your attention where it's needed, redirect it. It's not rude. It's not rude at all. It's just business. And there's somebody there wanting to buy your product. That is the priority. However, it is worth noting that sometimes the talkers can actually surprise you and make it worth your while. So I'll tell you why. So to be successful in small business, you have to be likable, okay? People they've got to want to support you. They've got to love you and your story. They've got to like your face, your smile, and the time that you take to speak to them to make them feel important. And catching a sale there and then, it isn't always the ultimate sign of success, especially at these sort of unpredictable market type environments when you just don't know who is going to walk through the door. And you can actually get so much more out of these events than just one-off customers. Things that are going to help your business beyond ways that you probably couldn't even imagine, and will ultimately, in the long run, help you sell your products without actually doing any selling yourself. Let me explain using 2 examples of things that happened to me when I first started Vintage Twee. And the first monumental thing that ever happened was actually one of my first proper craft fairs that I did. And it was at a stately home called Galsworth Hall, near where I lived. And I'll always remember it for 2 reasons. One, I met one of my colleagues there who is a calligrapher, and we became really good friends, and she still is to this day. And she also happened to write a really popular and successful wedding blog, and she featured me like numerous times on there without charging me a penny, because we got to know each other at the fair, and I got a lot of work from it. So that's a really good example of indirect sales, without being salesy at all. I was just talking to the lady next to me at the stall, and that came from it. It was amazing. And the second reason I'll always remember this fair is because it was previously mentioned about the talkers and how you get these people that come over. Well, I had one of these talkers at this fair, and she was a local lady in her, probably early 60s. And she stopped by my stall because she was really interested in the vintage lace that I used to use on my items. I used to decorate all my sort of gifts and products with trims of vintage lace that I'd found in antique shops and all these special places that I'd sort it out because it was quite hard to get. And she started talking. She started telling me about how her mother used to work for at the lace market in Macclesfield back in the early 1900s. So the lace market used to be like the heart of the world's lace industry in Nottinghamshire, I think it was at the time, Nottingham. But her mum worked in different places, but that's where it all started, in Nottingham. And it was where the first ever machine to make lace was invented. So anyway, she was at my stall for about half an hour telling me this story, probably, about her mother who used to work in a lace factory. And she'd not long since passed away, she told me. So after this long conversation and a few missed sales, to say the least, she left with her husband. Wished me all luck with my business. Said, "I love your stuff. I really hope you do well, Joanne. It's been lovely talking to you." Now, this fair I was doing was a 3-day event, and this was like the first day. So I didn't do much in terms of sales. The weather was awful. It didn't bring many people out. Well, the next day I went back to my stall for day 2. Everything was still set up. And that afternoon, the lady came back again. And I saw her in the distance with her husband. And she was making a beeline for my stall. And I thought, oh God, oh no, she's back. She's going to want to have another long chat. What does she want? Is she just come to have a browse again? Anyway, I noticed that she was carrying these 2 huge bin bags. And she was lugging them across the marquee over to me. And when she arrived at my table, she put the bags down. And she said to me, "We've been clearing out my mum's house, and we thought you could use these in your beautiful products." So I opened the bin bags and there were mountains and mountains of vintage lace like I had never seen, like reels of it, offcuts, cards full of them, spools. It was like a dream come true. They were all from the factory where this lady's mum had worked back in the early 1900s, and she'd kept all these bits of lace that the factory didn't want or couldn't use. She'd kept them all in their back room. I don't know why. I don't know if she was a crafter herself, whether she did little bits with it, but I mean, there was more lace there than anyone could ever dream of in a lifetime, honestly. I couldn't believe it. I literally had enough vintage lace to last me for years. It was amazing. I was going around, like I say, all these antique stores, buying it by the meter. It got really expensive, and I couldn't sustain it. But then this happened, and all those materials, they helped me develop new product ranges. Because I didn't have a lot of money starting out, like we all don't. But this lady made it possible for me to create like more items which sold. And they sold so well because of the history behind the materials that we used to create them. People used to love that story. And it's an example of how, even though I wasn't selling anything for her, she liked me that much that she actually enabled me to sell more than I ever thought I could by giving me the means, or materials in this case, to do it. And I still have loads of that lace left to this very day. That's how much there was 14 years later. Total true story. It's all in the loft now. I must get it down one day and have a rifle through again to bring back some memories. So when you're at these fairs and you don't feel like you're actively selling, don't stress about it. Because by taking the time to talk to people, explore the different ways that you can benefit from them, you'll do wonders for your business, trust me. It's not all about the instant sales there and then. You ultimately want to get your business out there and get your face known and be liked, which, will naturally, in time, bring the sales in for you. And that leads me on to my second example that happened to me when I was just talking to someone at a local market that I was exhibiting at. And this guy saw that I was selling vintage-inspired gifts and products and things that I'd made. And it made him approach me to find out more. And it turned out that this person was a TV producer who was running some adverts for a local vintage market, and he needed someone to present them. So he saw my style. Obviously, I had my dress on, had my hair done. And he must have just thought the face fits. And it was quite mad, really. But I ended up filming probably around 6 or 7 of these adverts, all for different events. And I became the face of this market. It was Warrington Market for a while, actually. It was for a good couple of years. And it was so funny because he'd give us like the schedule of when the advert was going to be shown on TV. So we could get ready to record it, because we could do that back then. Press the record, it's coming on. And at the time I lived back at home, and my mum she'd be sat there at tea time, like poised with the remote in her hand during the break of the chase. I was on prime time. It's prime time slot. I'm proud of that. But it was a bit surreal, and it was strange when I saw my face on all the posters for the market and around the town. I actually found one of those in the loft the other day as well, much to my daughter's amusement. She couldn't get her head around the fact why mummy was on a poster. But again, another example of how I didn't actually need to make any sales to raise the profile of my small business at these craft events and markets. I did it indirectly as a result of this chance encounter with this total stranger. And even though my business wasn't mentioned in the TV adverts, it gave me credibility and authority because I put it on my website. That's what I'd done. And it brought in the sales. So, I'm not saying that you need to be a TV producer. That was a total fluke. But what I am saying is that you never want to miss an opportunity to get yourself out there physically. Because sometimes your presence alone is enough. And you never know what a chance encounter will do for your small business. So when you're at these places and you're there physically and you're speaking face to face with people, talk to them, be friendly, dress the part, catch their eye. It's all a form of sales. So even if you don't feel like you are good at directly selling to people, you can be indirectly doing it and raising the profile of your business and your reputation. I also just wanted to tell you one other thing that you can do if you sell at these fairs or markets, and it's something that I learned from my sister. Now, Emma, my sister, is a brilliant salesperson, so much better than me, always has been. It wouldn't take much, to be fair. As I say, I'm not that good. But she used to come along to a few of my fairs when I started Vintage Twee to help me. And I watched her work her magic on my customers. And the sales rolled in. I'm not lying. And I'll tell you exactly how she did it. Yeah, I'm going to share Emma's secret with you because I watched it work so many times right before my eyes. So here it is, okay? When someone comes over to your stall, you've got to get their senses engaged. So it doesn't matter what you do or what you make, you can use this technique, all right? You need to activate at least one of people's 5 senses because doing that can influence buyer's behaviour and it can facilitate a sale, trust me. So, for example, my stuff is very tactile, lots of different materials like mixed media to it, delicate lace to touch, stuff like that, vintage music sheets that like people just wanted to feel and hold and say they've got this piece of history in their hands. And I used to watch my sister encourage people to pick everything up. And she'd say to them, she'd welcome them over, hi, feel free to have a browse. And then she'd say, pick it up, hold it, feel free to touch it, feel it. It's no problem at all. Because she said to me, if you can get people to hold your stuff in their hands, it will get them to envisage it in their life, in their home, at their wedding, wherever, whatever purpose they have come looking for, they will picture it easier and they will want it. If you sell food or drink, you want to excite their taste buds by having some samples out on your stall. Let them taste it. Let them get overwhelmed by the sense of what it feels like in their mouth, how exciting the flavours are. It won't cost you really anything. Break up a few pieces of whatever it is that you're selling, cookies, cakes, cheese, anything. Have it out there for them to try. People love a free sample anyway. If you sell scented products like candles or bath stuff, encourage people to smell them. Hold them to their nose, hold them to your nose as well, and talk to them about the scents and how you made them. If you sell jewellery, this is a good one, you want to get some spotlights that you can use to capture the sparkle of it, catch their sight, use their sight to draw them in. Our senses are such a powerful thing that we have. And if you can give your customer the whole sensory experience of your products, honestly, you won't need to think about selling at all because it will do it for you. So even if you're not a natural salesperson or you don't think you are, there are lots of ways that you can still actively sell your products which fit inside your comfort zone. Because if you're not comfortable giving the hard sell, a lot of us aren't, all is not lost, I promise you, and you can still run a successful business. I've done it. And I haven't got a salesy bone in my body. Remember that they're buying from other people that they like and that they can relate to. So you need to make this your primary focus at your next fair or market that you attend. And you'll find that your sales will come naturally without even trying. I just thought it was really important to stress that because a lot of us go to these things with these expectations that we have to make, X amount of sales, and we need to make 200 quid to cover our costs and our time and our effort, and to make it worthwhile. And we put that pressure on ourselves, don't we? And if we don't do that and we don't have like this monetary value at the end of it that says I made this much money, we think we've failed. Well, we need to shift our perspective and go out there thinking this is about promotion. This is about getting people to like me and who I am and what I do so that I build up my following and the sales will come. If you sell anything on the day, see it as a bonus. Of course we all want to. It's hard work getting everything ready for a fair. And of course you want to sell some stuff. But don't make it your primary focus. This is a marketing exercise. You're there to market yourself and your business. So hopefully those tips have given you some confidence about the things that you can put into practice at the next public event that you attend. And like I said earlier, even if you are listening to this, you don't actually sell handmade items, but your business is more like service based, you can still use the tips to help you secure clients by implementing them in any face-to-face encounters or interactions that you have. You know, for example, if you do presentations or you do talks to pitch your service, look back on, or listen back, I should say, on the things that I've mentioned in this episode about body language, about smiling, about striking up conversations and making people feel comfortable, and put them in your pitch, because they will ultimately work for that as well. It's not just about selling things, handmade things. It can work for service businesses as well. Now, I know I said that I don't have a salesy bone in my body, and I stand by that. But I do have to mention that I'm releasing lots of new exciting services soon that's going to help you grow your business. Now, as some of you know, I've been off for a while after a big operation, so I've had a lot of time on my hands to review what I'm currently offering to all you amazing women with small businesses. And I've come to a conclusion that I can do better. I think that I'm learning too. Obviously, Her Handmade Hustle is a new business for me. I'm learning as I go along what people want, what people need, and most importantly, what people can afford. So I've been working on some brilliant new ways that I can give you real business support as and when you need it. I mean, honestly, I had this epiphany the other night, and I just realised that there's something that I can offer women with small businesses that just doesn't cost the earth and would give them all the help they need whenever they need it. And I'm really, really excited to tell you about it. But I'm going to have to wait until the next time, I'm afraid. So I'm going to do a podcast episode on it next week. It's going to be a really good one, so don't miss it. If you've got a small business, a small creative business particularly, and you always have questions, you know, you feeling stuck, things that pop into your head that keep you awake at night, I'm going to be telling you a way that I can help you that isn't going to cost you the earth, and will benefit you massively. So don't miss that episode. If you want to be the first to know about these new opportunities, there's some other stuff as well that I'm going to be bringing in to help you and your business. Make sure you sign up to my mailing list. That'll be starting up again soon this summer. I've let it slide lately just while I've been recovering. Too much on my mind, but I'm excited to get that back up and running again. So the link to join the mailing list is in the show notes, or you can visit my website, herhandmadehustle.co.uk, and you can sign up there. You can also follow this podcast, whatever platform you're listening on, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook too, and I will release all the details on there. But thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you've got something valuable from this episode. I've enjoyed recording it, reminiscing a little bit on my craft fair days and sharing some of the experiences of things that worked for me and what didn't. And I really hope that you can implement them in your next craft fair or market, and you can go into it feeling confident and less pressured about making these on-the-spot sales. You know, look at the bigger picture, the longer term, and see it all as a marketing exercise that is going to benefit you and your business. So I'll leave it there for now. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to the next episode next week. Take care. Bye.